Wow. I had a shared death experience with my father, and
Wow.
I didn't really talk about it to anybody other than it being in the 12-step community. They'll ask me to share my story. So
Uh-huh.
I'll share, I'll say I just tapped into my father's consciousness when he left his body. I didn't
Uh-huh.
really have the lingo, but what happened was my dad fell off a cliff. I was with him, and I ran all the way down this is in California. I grew up by Long Beach in San Pedro, but I went down a staircase like a mile and a half away, went all the way down to the rocks and ran all the way to where my father was, and he's compressed against the rocks, and he had a teardrop originally tattooed, but it was removed, and I remember seeing a real teardrop there, and I grabbed his
Oh,
body, and somewhere along the lines, I found myself outside of my body, and I'm looking at the whole scene. I could see people on top of the cliff looking over at the whole scene, the firemen running, coming in the rocks along with the police officers, and I seen me and my uncle holding my father.
oh, that's
And
a beautiful story. Wow.
and the interesting part about that is when I was a kid, being a Mexican kid and a kind of in a really kind of lowrider gang environment, how do I remember being living in India at one time or ancient China? And
Right.
I already had like a little bit of remembrance, but it kind of got pushed away with all the trauma and the life experiences and the conditioning. But when I came to the 12-step community after my awakening, all of a sudden the Bhagavad Gita started coming, a lot of mysticism, but in the
Oh,
Gita specifically, it talks a lot about how we don't die. The self cannot be pierced, it cannot be
it doesn't
hurt.
end.
So it says, knowing this, do not grieve because we don't die, basically. And
Right.
I'm like, wow, I remember being living in India one time when I was a kid. I had a shared death experience with my father, and then how does the Gita come to me? For the Hindu scriptures come to me after my awakening, showing me that, confirming my experience with my father.